the annual progress and continuation report, which is a requirement of those districts receiving a community education grant. You are strongly encouraged to review this recording in its entirety prior to completing the report. KRS 160.157 establishes that those public schools receiving state funding for a community education program must submit an annual report to the Kentucky Department of Education that includes an evaluation of the program and a financial statement. Today, I will walk you through the various components of the report and some of the updates to the form. Please note that the form must be submitted by July 15, 2025 to continue receiving the grant. If you have any questions about the report and its contents, please direct those to me via email. My email address is listed on the slide and is glenna.cummins@education.ky.gov. As previously shared, the process for completing the annual progress and continuation report has been updated for 2025 reporting. Please note that each component of the report must be adequately addressed or the report will be sent back for revisions. Community education directors must allow at least 90 minutes to complete the report and have a Munis report available to upload at the time they are completing the report. The Munis report must show the $20,000 grant and $5,000 match for the community education director's salary. This year's report is a Google form, and the link to the report was included in the email sent to you, which also included a link to the webinar you are currently viewing. As a heads up, you will be required to sign into the Google form. If you have difficulty signing in, please contact your district's technology support for assistance before reaching out to me. The report has a new look, and there are several changes to the reporting requirements. The next slides will provide specific instructions on how to complete the report. The reporting components are the same: facility usage, lifelong learning opportunities, volunteerism and citizen involvement, P-12 support, collaborations, and financial statements. Assurances is a new component, and we will review that section later in the presentation. The reporting components of facility usage, lifelong learning opportunities, volunteerism and citizen involvement, P-12 support, and collaborations are essential elements to a successful community education program. The first section is demographics and general information. Select your district name from the drop-down box. Enter your first and last name into the fields. Since you are the community education director, you should be completing the form on behalf of your district. Enter the email address of the community education director. This should be the director's work email address and should not be a personal email address. Double check to make sure the information is correct so the Kentucky Department of Education can contact you if needed. The 2025 report requires more information than you may be accustomed to from the past years. Instead of simply entering and reporting numbers, directors will include a brief summary on how your local community education program addressed each of the 5 community education components. Narrative summaries should describe the implementation of the community education component in that specific area. This is the how and the what section of the narratives. In these sections, please describe how the community education program addressed the component and what programs and/or activities were implemented. Include any assessment data collected to determine programmatic needs. Also, please elaborate on plans for expansion and describe future plans for improvements. How would you revise or expand your programs or activities designed to address the required component? What would have made the program more successful? Within your narrative, please elaborate on the program's accomplishments, by describing the impact and the successes. What was the impact of the activities or programs implemented to address the component? Did the activity or program achieve the projected outcome? How do you know the activity or program was successful? These narratives must be aligned to the 5 community education components outlined on the form: facility usage, lifelong learning opportunities, volunteerism and citizen involvement, P through 12 support, and collaborations. In addition to elaborating on your district's program in each of the 5 component areas, respond to the short answer questions beneath in each narrative component as well. The first component is facility usage. Community schools serve the entire community, and school facilities should be utilized by people of all ages and at all times of the day, week, and year when school is not in session. Schools may not be the prime location for certain programs, so alternate locations may also be used, such as community learning centers, hospitals, adult learning centers, public libraries, or extension offices. Provide a brief summary of the implementation, expansion, impacts, and success your community education program achieved by providing opportunities for the school and other community facilities to be used. Step is to enter the total number of hours that school facilities are used for classes, programs, or other initiatives that result from the work of the community education director outside of the normal school day. This includes activities and programs provided before or after school and during breaks and holidays. Enter the total number of hours that other community facilities are utilized. When completing the sections that ask you to recall number of hours or participants, you may need to consult evidence such as sign-in sheets or attendance logs to tally up the required numbers. The form should allow you to save your progress and revisit it as needed if you must monetarily pause to collect the information required on the form. The next component is lifelong learning opportunities. Learning begins at birth and is lifelong. As a basic education agency of the community, public schools should address the formal and informal educational needs and desires of all ages in the community. Learning opportunities should be based on the areas identified in the needs assessment, community interest, and serve all age groups. Briefly describe the implementation, expansion, and accomplishments that the district program has had in the long life learning opportunities component. Next, enter the total number of participants in community education sponsors or co-sponsored classes or programs in your county. Participants should only be counted once per class. Whether a parent, family member, senior citizen, or other community members, volunteers enhance student learning experience. Research demonstrates that when parents and other community members are engaged in educating students, the schools are better and student performance improves. Tutoring, mentoring, leading an activity, assisting students with exploring or learning about a special interest such as music or art are ways volunteers can be a vital resource to the community education program. Briefly describe the implementation, expansion, and accomplishments that the district's program has had in the volunteerism citizen involvement component. Enter the total number of volunteers as a direct result of some action on the part of the community education director. You may include partnerships with other programs. However, the community education director must be directly engaged in the planning and organization of the activity and/or event. Include before, after, and summer programs, advisory council meetings, and projects or other programs. This is an unduplicated count. Volunteers can only be counted one time, even though they may have participated in each activity, program, or event. Next, enter the total number of volunteer hours as a result of some action on the part of the community education director. The community education director must be directly involved in the activity or program in order for volunteer hours to be counted. Volunteer hours can be counted for each activity the volunteer or the citizen participated. If one person participated in multiple activities, then all hours may be counted. The next component is P through 12 support. Community support for student learning takes many forms and becomes an increasingly important part of the community education director's role. One successful strategy is learning through serving, such as Learn and Serve or service learning, which is a form of curriculum-based education that engages students in real-life experiences that address issues and needs of the community. The community becomes the classroom, enabling students to integrate academic knowledge and critical thinking skills in real-life issues. Students should have an opportunity to become respected leaders in their communities. Describe how you are supporting your P through 12 program, in particular, any work that you're doing to help students become college or career ready. Briefly describe the implementation, expansion, and accomplishments that the district program has had on the P through 12 component. Enter the total number of students in preschool through grade 12 involved in the community education P through 12 program. This is an unduplicated count, and students should only be counted one time, even though they may have participated in multiple activities, programs, or events. Collaborations is the next component. The community education program should be included in the district's comprehensive improvement plan. Community education directors should collaborate and coordinate services with district, school, and community agencies and organizations. Internally, community education directors should be involved in school-based initiatives and collaborate with other school programs such as the Family Resource and Youth Service Centers, Dropout and Drug and Alcohol Prevention Programs, Area Technology Centers, Title I parent engagement activities, and other programs or events at each school in the district and county. Externally, the community education program should collaborate with community organizations and provide linkages between business, industry, local agencies, and individuals to address community and student needs and resolve issues. Collaborative partners may include the local extension office, public library, chamber of commerce, and other community organizations and agencies. Briefly describe the implementation, expansion, and accomplishments that the district's community education program has had when addressing the collaboration component. Enter the total number of internal collaborations with the district's community education program. These are district and school-based initiatives, not community programs or events. Enter the total number of external collaborations with the district community education program. Enter the number of jobs created by the community education program. The community education grant can only be used for a full-time community education director, so each community education program should list at least one full-time job created by the grant. Other full-time jobs may be the results of grants, job fairs, resume seminars, or other events in which the community education director was actively and intentionally involved. Providing data for a grant the district is writing would not count since the community education director was not actively involved in the grant writing process, but just providing additional information for the grant. By the community education program. Again, these must be jobs created by intentional involvement of the community education director. This section is new. The assurances are part of the district's request for application, or the RFA, as it is often called. To receive community education funding, the district was required to agree to and adhere to the assurances outlined in the RFA. When completing this section, you are selecting yes, no, or other. If you select other, explain any circumstances that prevented the district from fulfilling the requirements. There are 5 assurances, so make sure to complete each one. The next section is the financial statement. Public school districts that receive state funds for a community education program must submit a financial statement. Grantees must submit one MUNIS financial state report that documents how the community education grant funds and the district's 25% cash match were expended. Funds must be used for the community education director's salary and benefits only. MUNIS reports must show at a minimum of $25,000 were expended to ensure the $20,000 grant and the 25% cash match of $5,000 are accounted for. MUNIS reports that show only the grant award of $20,000 grant award funds and do not include the $5,000 cash match will result in the incomplete application and will result in loss of funding. Let me repeat that statement. MUNIS reports that show only the grant award of $20,000 and do not include the $5,000 cash match will result in an incomplete application and will result in loss of funding. You may need to contact the district finance officer to make sure the grant funds and the district cash match are documented on one MUNIS financial report. You must name the report as stated on the slide. 2024-2025, your district name, MUNIS report. For example, 2024-2025, Adair County MUNIS report. When you are positive the MUNIS report shows at a minimum of $25,000 and the report is named correctly, then upload the report as demonstrated on the slide. You click on Add Now, find the report in your files, click on the report, and the file should upload. The second part of the financial section is financial contributions. Community education programs may generate additional funding through partnerships, collaboration with community partners and organizations or agencies to secure additional funding through grants, donations, sponsorships, or other funding sources. These must be real dollars generated through intentional efforts of the community education director. These are not in-kind funds. Do not include the $20,000 grant award or the required 25% district match of $5,000 in the total amount. Enter the total amount of funds generated by the community education program in the box as indicated on the slide. Again, thank you for participating in today's webinar. If you have any additional questions regarding the completion of the reporting form and/or general questions related to community education, please direct those to me, Glenna Cummins, by email at glenna.cummins@education.ky.gov.